If everybody could please start taking their seats, we're going to start promptly at 7. That means you too, Dana? No, anyway. Okay. And now it's 7? Okay. So everybody sit down. I see everybody needs to clear. Okay. I'd like to call to order the Township of Concord regular meeting for February 4th, 2025. If we could all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first part of our agenda this evening, we're going to be recognizing some people and some groups that have gone above and beyond for the service at Concord Township. And the first one is Allison O'Donoghue. Allison O'Donoghue came to work for Concord Township many years ago. Do I have enough manys in there? Yeah. I was here too, so anyway. And she has been here over 20 years now, serving as both Park and Rec Director and Events Coordinator. Whereas Allison was the driving force and organization behind many of the parks and recreation events and programming, whereas her vision, passion, and commitment to enhancing our community's quality of life through innovative programs and events have left an indelible mark. A couple personal observations. When Allison got here, we basically had no programs, but I think you soon developed a summer day camp for kids. Was instrumental in helping us with the Family Fun Days. First started out, I think, in conjunction with the library, and then it became a township event. And you had a young lady that would always come in and help you at the beginning when Bob was here, Rachel. And just as an aside, every time she would come in, Bob Willard would say, now, Allison, you have to be aware of the budget. You have to be aware of the budget. You have to be aware of the budget. Budget. And one day Bob tells me they're walking out of the room and Rachel's telling Allison, you got to remember to be on top with the budget. This, that, the other thing. But anyway, it's been our pleasure to serve with you. Therefore, be it resolved, the Concord Township Council, staff, and community recognize the significant contributions of Allison O'Donoghue over the course of her career. Thank her for her dedicated service to Concord Township and wish her the best of luck in all future endeavors. So I guess I need a motion to approve this certificate of recognition. Will somebody make that motion?
So moved.
Somebody second that motion?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Alan, we're going to do a little photo up here. Do you have it?
Here you go.
Oh, you need these glasses. Okay. Whoa. We have two other recognitions we want to do this evening. I think it's right there, John.
I got it.
Okay. You want to come on down here? Do it from up, whatever you
From
can.
up here and I'll come down for this.
I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Gillespie.
Okay, this is a certificate of recognition to the Concord Township Heroes Memorial Committee. Whereas the Concord Township Heroes Memorial Committee was established in the wake of the tragic events of September 11, 2001, with a mission to honor the sacrifices of our nation's heroes and foster a sense of community gratitude and remembrance. And whereas, under the visionary leadership of former Township Supervisor Robert C. Mensch, this dedicated group of volunteers worked tirelessly to fund, construct, and maintain the Concord Township Heroes Memorial, a monument that stands as a testament to the bravery and service of all branches of the United States Armed Forces, law enforcement, fire services, rescue, and emergency medical personnel. And whereas for over 2 decades, the committee has upheld the dignity and purpose of the memorial through their stewardship, ensuring that future generations of Concord Township residents will continue to reflect on and honor the selfless service of our nation's heroes. And whereas their commitment exemplifies the highest ideals of community service and reflects the profound respect and gratitude of the residents of Concord Township. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Concord Township Council hereby formally recognizes and extends its heartfelt appreciation to the members of the Heroes Memorial Committee for their invaluable contributions to our community. Their dedication and passion have created a legacy of honor and remembrance that will endure for future generations to come. Is that in a form of a motion?
Yes.
I so move that we approve
Is there a second?
recognition.
Second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
John, I think you have some of the committee that's here. You're going to bring them forward.
Yes.
for Presentation of the proclamation.
Touching the stem.
Yeah, I can read it from here. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a certificate of recognition to the Garnet Valley Gherkins for their exceptional life-saving efforts through CPR. Whereas the ability to perform cardiopulmonary resuscitation, CPR, is a critical skill that can make the difference between life and death in emergency situations. And whereas the members of the Garnet Valley Gherkins Pickleball Club recently demonstrated exceptional courage, skill, and commitment by performing CPR during an emergency, which directly contributed to saving a life. And whereas the actions of the Gherkins exemplify the value of selflessness, responsibility, and community spirit. And whereas the swift and decisive actions of the Gherkins highlights the importance of preparedness and training in life-saving techniques, inspiring others, like Gherkins member Kirk Troutman, to take similar action in the moments of crisis. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Concord Township Council hereby formally recognize the outstanding efforts of the Garnet Valley Gherkins Pickleball Club for their life-saving intervention through CPR and extends its deep appreciation for their bravery and commitment to preserving life. I so move the motion.
Second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, I guess we have some.
Gherkins?
Okay, Larry's coming. Go, stand here so we can get
Squeeze
you.
it between the two.
And Dana, when you get. Is that better?
All right, again, on the count of three, and I lied, 1, 2, and 3. Thank you.
Okay, wait. Everybody good? Hold it. They're not done yet. This will be seen tomorrow on the internet by the 3 people.
You might go viral, Dom. Kelsey was here.
One goes to Kurt. There were 3 of them. Kurt, one of them is going to go to Betty. Betty. I have another one
Oh,
for
yeah, hold
you,
on.
Kurt.
Sorry.
And then we have one, and I can give copies to the rest.
Yes, here's one. You needed this one?
Is that the other original?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to get on with the rest of the conduct of the meeting. Anybody that's wishing to exit, I guess you took the hint. Upcoming meetings and events: on February 6th, we have the Park and Rec Board meeting. February 12th, we have the Historical Commission meeting. February 17th, the township offices are closed for the holiday. February 18th, Planning Commission will be on Tuesday instead of Monday due to the holiday. February 19th, the Zoning Hearing Board. And February 20th, the council agenda meeting if needed. We will go into our public reports in 1 second. Vanita, you're up first, so I think once you see that door close, you're good to go, okay? Go ahead, Vanita.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everybody. Based on our fire marshal's highlights, we had 126 calls for assistance with basic life support and 217 calls for advanced life support this month of January, which was quite higher in comparison to last year's January. There were no fire-related incidents, but there were 11 motor vehicle accidents reported. Our fire marshal also assisted 4 EMS incidents, and I appreciate the fire department. They are always here to help and assist our residents. I also appreciate the residents in making sure that we took all necessary preventive measures and successfully had no fire incidents last month. The fire marshal inspected several sprinkler systems at different locations to confirm safety compliance. Fire code and LNI requirement, which is labor and industrial requirement, were reviewed with prison safety officer to determine a better method to alleviate false alarms at their site. At the beginning of this year, I request the residents to make sure that we look into reasons that may have caused our individual false alarms so that our necessary fire departments and ambulance employees and volunteers can respond to locations and incidents that really need immediate attention. And I thank you all for it. For the tips of this month, with all the frigid temperatures we have had for past few weeks, please think of safety related to the 4 Ps: people, pets, pipes, and plants. Avoid carbon monoxide poisoning by keeping grills and generators out and away from your windows. Don't use gas or stove or oven to heat your home. Bring pets inside and provide shelter and fresh water. Learn how to shut off water valves. This can help prevent pipe bursts, since we had a few last month. And also check on your elderly. The slogan for this year for our township is to think safe, be safe, and drive safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Open Space, Trails, and Recreations, Mr. Crossan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just highlighting some of the past events from this last month. On Sunday, the 26th of January, we had a Building for the Birds workshop, and where we partnered with Newland Gristmill, Birdtown, PA, Valley Forge Audubon Society, and others for Bird Box Building Workshop, which drew over 40 students. That constructed 17 bluebird boxes that will be placed around Newland Gristmill and other areas in the community. The last week of January was Winter Salt Week, which was an initiative of Concord Township and the Newland Gristmill's Watershed Task Force. They conducted water sampling at several locations around the township in order to help assess the impact of salt usage on our roadways. Coming up this next month, we've got another bird workshop. The Birdtown thing was quite active. Who knew that would take off? But
Oh, I get it.
get it. For the love of birds, it's going to be a workshop or a lecture at Rachel Cole Library in conjunction with Penn State Extension 4-H and Bethel Birds and Bees, not to be confused with Birds and Bees on 202.
Might get a bigger crowd.
We have a Black History Month open house and a lecture on Concord's U.S. Colored Troops at Spring Valley AME Church on the 16th, and a bird walk at the end of the month on the 28th. We do have senior programming coming up. Registration for spring classes in Zumba and watercolor are now open with the Senior Center, and the full list of the township's events, including all of our exciting summer events, will be released next Monday, February 10th.
Thank you. Sewer and Public Works, Mr. Gillespie.
Yes, the sewer operations report. The contractors for the new UV project have begun work. We should have the first system online and testing before the end of March. And staff, engineering, and management have begun talking about the main plant outfall at Chester Creek, just beyond the Newland Grist Mill. This is the original outfall that was installed in 1996, and we find that its performance needs to be evaluated. More to follow on that. And with Public Works, a couple items there. In January, Public Works focus was keeping the township roads safe for travel during multiple storms of snow and ice. They worked long hours on multiple occasions to ensure safety for all of our motorists. And also on our township campus over by the BYC gym, Public Works graded swales to the stormwater basin, placed fabric and stone riprap. And I wanted to highlight that because our Public Works forces have saved the township countless thousands of dollars by doing these projects with our own staff. By the time, if we didn't use them, we would have our engineer prepare specs, go out for bid, and pay prevailing wages, and these type of projects would be much more expensive. So kudos to our Public Works Department and the leadership by getting these smaller type projects completed. That's the end of my report.
Okay, Colleen is not here, so the building and code enforcement report will just be entered into the record. Planning Commission, Mr. Mutchler.
Concord Township Planning Commission activities for January. Both Planning Commission meetings were canceled for January 2025. In the meantime, Penn's Woods, William Penn Corp. At 124 Beaver Valley Road was granted an extension until May 13th, 2025. The schedule for the month, as you already mentioned, agenda meeting February 10th, and the public meeting will be on February 18th. And that's all for planning.
Thank you. Solicitor, Mr. Donahue.
Thank you. I'm pleased to announce that it looks like we may have an agreement in principle with respect to a small piece of property right off of 202, which would be the entranceway to the Octorara Trail in Concord Township. As I said today, it looks like we have an agreement that will be subject to the exchange of paperwork. With respect to Concord Ventures, the parties continue to have some dialogue and exchange concepts, but no agreement has been reached at this point in time.
That's it, you? Okay. Township Engineer, Nate.
Sure, just a couple brief updates. On the land development front, everybody's probably seen Encompass right next door here is obviously underway. So they're working pretty quick, and I think that building's going to go up pretty quick once they get the ground stabilized here and we get out of this winter condition. Also, the Orchard Knoll project, we had our on-site pre-construction meeting with the Conservation District and their team Tuesday, and they are started as of today. So you will see some, trees coming down, things of that nature. But we've been pretty diligent. This was actually our second pre-construction meeting. Our first was to identify all the locations of tree protection and make sure that was qualified with Tom Committa's office. So we'll have staff out there pretty regularly out of the gate here, making sure that they're doing everything correctly. Any complaints or questions, certainly send them to Amanda's direction, and she'll make sure they get to my team.
Has the line of disturbance been clearly marked?
That's exactly what I was saying, yeah. So we met with Tom Committa and their landscape contractor and have that delineated in the field. So again, there's no mistakes of taking down a tree that shouldn't be taken down.
Yeah, but was the delineation supposed to be the orange construction fence?
Correct.
So somebody's going to keep on top of that
Yep.
because if it
It's
comes
surveyed,
down, they get into the woods.
and it's located by surveyors and GPS and everything, so.
Okay, sounds good.
Yep.
All right, good.
And then last is we are gearing up for 25 road program, so any complaints, comments, suggestions, certainly send them to Amanda's attention. As always, we work with the officials here, Public Works, some of our existing GIS data and data collection to come up with a list, so we'll have that prepared in a few months. But as we come out of winter, obviously, we run into different issues, so we'll take any suggestions under advisement.
Is Spring Valley Road being considered?
Spring Valley Road is already on the short list of consideration.
Sounds good. Thank you. Township Manager, Amanda.
Sure. I'm just going to reiterate that sort of complaint department moment, especially since it's in the beginning of the year. I want to make sure that folks remember to follow us on our every Friday newsletter that gets sent out from the township that keeps people abreast of a lot of the things that are going on and that are important. Additionally, I urge everyone, if you have questions, if you have comments, we have a lovely staff, team of great staff here, and we are happy to answer those questions. Rather than going on social media and using that for your question and comment, we would appreciate at the township office level staff members knowing if there's something someone's concerned with. We actually have signage in all of our parks and a lot of our public spaces that say, if you have comments, questions, concerns, you can literally click the QR code. It takes you right to our email address, and you can type in whatever you need. So I just want to make sure people always remember that. I know sometimes social feels like a quick, hey, what's going on here? But if you really want a correct answer, please feel free to reach out to the township office staff. That's what we do. We're here for you. So I just wanted to point that out. I also wanted to reiterate our amazing Public Works team, especially in these storms. We've got something coming this week with inclement weather. So just a reminder to folks, be safe, be cautious. We're doing all we can so that those who work at different hours and can get out on the roadways safely, but you also need to be safe around emergency vehicles and our Public Works vehicles when they're salting and doing things of that nature. So just have patience and be safe And we'll put messages out on anything that, if we have intersections down, there's anything going on, we make sure folks know. So please pay attention. The other thing that I'll point out is Parks and Recreation has been working really hard on getting calendar together. We will be releasing this week their Save the Date. They have a lot of exciting programming happening. Allison knows, she's been at the ground level of all of that, and is part of the reason everything is so successful. So I know they have some new things coming up, including a sensational summer kickoff. So that'll be really exciting, something new that we're doing, and the details will be in future communications. So I just encourage everyone to add them to your calendars for some fun and things to look forward to this year. Thank you so much.
Next portion of the agenda is citizen comment. Anyone with any comments or questions on anything in the agenda or any issues before the township, now would be the time to come up. Okay, Dave? Dave, I know you're going to have to give us your name and address because that's just the routine. You know it by now, okay?
Did they go away from addresses? But I'm a Concord Township resident. I think at some other meeting I saw they don't make you give out your specific.
Okay.
But 72 Schoolhouse Lane, it's a quick thing. I was out walking before the last major storm, and the guy salting, and we got too much salt still for my dog. My dog doesn't like the salt, but that's what it is. He was flying through the stop signs. And I actually got his attention, had a quick conversation with the guy driving the pickup truck that was doing it. He said, "Oh, I work for the township," and he didn't need to obey the stop signs. I believe he should. I think it's in best public safety that even if you're working in that role and you got lights flashing on there, that the stop signs in the neighborhoods, you at least get close to stopping or not for the safety of the other cars that are traveling around. And the roads were not messy yet.
Amanda, could you look into that and alert Dan to...
100%.
Yeah,
And you
yeah,
said
I
it
think
was
you
a
might have just
township
tell them, what's that?
It was a township employee,
Yeah.
not a contractor?
It was a contractor.
Okay.
He told me he was
Okay.
working for the township. Just put out to the folks that, hey,
I'll make sure that Dan knows, because he'll...
I'm not even exactly sure exactly what the guidance is. I can understand maybe you
and
roll
he might
through.
not have been our contractor, so I'll look into that.
We'll look into it. That's a
Yeah,
valid, that's a valid
was,
concern.
and he was convinced he didn't need to obey the.
That's a valid concern.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll move right along in the agenda. Next item is the consent agenda. We have various issues on there. We would be approving as part of the consent agenda, first and foremost, the county public meeting minutes of January 6, 2025. Dana, you want to handle the expenditures for the month, please?
Sure, thank you, Mr. President. So our total expenditures is $1,220,053.23. That consists of January payroll of $215,537.61, current bills of $547,651, and our sewer bills at $456,864.62.
Hey, Mr. Gillespie, I think if you would handle C and D, which are certificate of payments and financial releases, please.
Sure, I'd be glad to. 4 items under certificate for payment. First one being to Albert Cipollone and Sons in the amount of $130,075.57 for the ARPA project on Evergreen Drive and Spring Valley Road. The balance to finish this project plus retainage is $108,447.39. The next certificate is to J.J. Danielle in the amount of $13,120.49. This recommended release is the final payment for the ARPA project done on Spring Valley Road culvert. The third one is a certificate to McKenney in the amount of $8,450.10. This recommended release is the final payment for sewer work done at the Robbins Way pump station. And the other final one would be to AJM Electric in the amount of $6,473.30. This recommended release is the final payment for sewer work done at Robbins Way pump station. And we have financial releases. We have 4 of those. First one is to Best Western Concordville Hotel. This is a sewer work. This is a recommended release for the sewer project, $168,588. Second one is certificate number 1 to for Pulte, the sewer work. This is a recommended release for the sewer work at the Pulte Development Site in the amount of $628,881.30. Next one would be a final certificate to Team Toyota. This is a recommended final release for the 2021 development project in the amount of $53,086.25. This is an old project that's been outstanding. We're trying to clear out the records. And the last one will be a final to Team Toyota for township work. This is a recommended final release of a maintenance bond for a 2015 development project in the amount of $1,458. Again, this is an old project that has been outstanding.
Okay, and we also have the following authorizations to advertise for bids. First is the barn preservation project, which is the goat barn at Bush Hill Farm. The second is for cleaning services for the township buildings. Third is for the roof replacement for the sewer plant main building. We also have to accept this complete for filing the following applications. A final minor subdivision at 64 Kirk Road, which I think is a one lot into two, and a final minor subdivision application for 823 Shavertown Road, which is of a similar type. Do I have a motion to approve?
I so moved.
Appointment.
Okay, mine doesn't have that one. Okay. Appointment of James Callahan as the building code official. That's what happens when you get them early. Okay, we have a motion.
I so moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, ARPA project updates. Amanda and/or Nate?
ARPA. Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's-
basically what's going on there is we still have some of the lingering projects that were, we had bids accepted in the previous year that we're working out. So we have the Carter Way Basin and the Newlyn. So it's the Newlyn.
Newland's the basin.
All right, come on in, jump on in, engineer.
Newland Way is going to be a basin retrofit. That's where we've talked about the township owns a basin on Newland Way. Hasn't been maintained until a few years ago. We weren't aware that the township owned it. So we're going to clean that up, redress that. That's out to bid and will be scheduled for work this spring. The second one is Carter Way, which is really close. We'll be doing a stream restoration project. For lack of a better direction, it's kind of behind the Wawa off Damon's Creek. Township owns open space on the south side of Carter Way. We've identified an area, kind of a stream watershed, kind of the original origins of that stream corridor that we're going to go and do some TLC in. Both of these projects are going to give us credits, what they're called PRP credits with DEP as far as part of our MS4 permit, which Amanda and I have been talking about for probably a dozen years. So these will be two of the kind of critical projects to start moving us in the direction of compliance, not that we're out of compliance, but to stay in compliance with that permit.
Okay,
And those will be the last, I think those are the last two ARPA projects of the dozen that we had to get completed. And
Amanda,
those
do you
were all
have
obligated last year.
Amanda, is there anything else you need to add to that?
No, I
Okay,
think that was
great.
good.
Are we good with spending the money by the time we need to spend the money?
We did, it's all been allocated.
Okay.
So everything was allocated by the end of last year, so it had to be bid, ready, and allocated, so it went to the other sources of revenue.
Okay, thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, Octorara Trail update. Again, Amanda and/or Nate.
Sure, so we're still working through SEPTA. I sent another email again today, I send them every week, asking them to provide me information that has to do with a pedestrian bridge and what the requirements are going to be via SEPTA in order to have our agreement finalized. I am hopeful that maybe today will be the day, and this week they will actually give me their final edits to the agreement, which we've been talking about and editing since December. So hopefully that gets tied up. We've had other meetings this week. We're still moving forward. While that's happening, there are a lot of other things moving forward on the project with our hope of having a lot of these submissions and things reviewed by the state so that we are in a good place when it comes to August when they need to have us have most of these permit requirements handled. So we are on track. Some things are ahead. There are some things that are behind, like this SEPTA agreement, but we're working through them diligently.
Okay.
And we're still meeting monthly.
I think it's a great idea that we have both the ARPA project update and the Octorara Trail updated each month so you can tell us what's going on.
Agree. And I also want to point out in here, there is an acknowledgement piece. If you look at that 3A, so in everyone's materials, you have acknowledged this previously at meetings, and DCNR is requesting. So basically what happens is we run into the issue, you've heard us speak about it, with PICO. PICO had us change entire route, which had budget implications for our design portions. Now SEPTA has done the same thing, and we have design changes that cost money and permits that are now required as a result. So we have that built in. The engineers have been updating it as we go. We did have $500,000 given to us with 2 grant entities, and the township is handling sort of the balance of those. So DCNR has requested again that you acknowledge these budget amendments as we move forward on this project.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. You happy, Amanda? Good.
That's great, and we are continuing to look for grant funding to fund these things as we go along, and we have more issues and things, so just FYI.
Next item on the agenda is a homeowner's request, 166 Trimble Road, to remove a deed restriction. Is anyone here? Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Kim Christie. This is my husband, David Christie.
Thank you.
So we purchased this property on Trimble Road in 1999, and shortly after my daughter was married about a year and a half ago, we retained the services of a land surveyor in the process of trying to determine where and how we could build a house for her and her new husband to reside. And at that point in time, we found out that there was a deed restriction on this 5-acre parcel that was put into place in the late 1990s when the land was originally subdivided for a development. So we're here today to just start the process of respectfully requesting that there be an amendment to the condition limiting further subdivision of 166 Trimble Road to allow the property to be subdivided to include 1 additional parcel. It's more than 4 times the zoning ordinance, which is 1 acre minimum lot size for properties in the R2 zoning district. And really also to note is that the parcels surrounding our property are all less than 1 acre. So this additional parcel subdivision would more than exceed the 1 acre minimum size for lots in the area.
With regard to your request, considering that can you provide more rationale for your request? Because lifting deed restrictions are put in place for the purpose of prohibiting future activity 10, 20, 30 years down the line like we're looking at now, not sort of on a temporary basis. And so to take an action for this council to take an action to reverse the act of a previous council is not something that we would take lightly and would have to have significant justification. And so considering that you purchased this deed restriction was put in place in 1998, so just the year prior to your purchase, and you've had the deed all that time. So have any circumstances changed to justify this request?
Well, it's an historic property, and we'd like to keep it in the family. It wasn't until my daughter expressed interest in kind of creating a family compound that we even looked into this situation. So really what we hope to do with this subdivision is keep this historic property in the family for many years to come, with hopes that, she will then stay in this historic property and her children will have an opportunity to move into the other home that we build there.
Well, I can appreciate that. We, for example, have over on Featherbed Road, the Hall property, which you may be familiar with, was the former Christmas tree farm behind the high school. And a few years ago, the township purchased the property and subdivided off the old farmstead into its own lot and deed restricted that from further subdivision and demolition of the historic structure. So similar to your property when Twin Creek was developed, this was one of the conditions of the development. So this was not arbitrary or unrelated to that development of the farm. And my concern is that to take an action to grant this would undermine this council's commitment to deed restrictions, particularly as they relate to any of our deed restrictions. And it's I think, a dangerous precedent to set. One of the things that I do want to highlight for you as well is that Given that this is a historic property with historic structures on our inventory, properties that are over 5 acres, which your property is, have certain conditional uses that are allowed for historic properties over 5 acres, including a bed and breakfast and additional dwelling unit, I believe as well. And so I think you may be able to achieve your goal of a family compound with the 5 acres, whereas if we were to grant a subdivision request, it would be below the threshold of the 5 acres, and it would remove all of the conditional use allowances per our historic ordinance. So I would encourage you to look at that historic ordinance and see if you can explore coming before the council for those conditional uses that will achieve your goal.
Can I ask how large the Hall property that was restricted from
Say
further
that again?
subdivision? How large is the Hall property that was restricted from further subdivision?
2 or 3 acres. So, I don't believe it's 5 acres. The whole property was, I think, 14 or 16. But
I'd like to add, I was on the planning commission when this plan first came in, and I live on Patricia Lane, which is on the Cheney Road side, and we connect with the fire lane. And I do remember there being a lot of discussion and dialogue about saving the Honold farm, both from the Honold family as well as our historic commission at the time. And John went into a lot of reasons, but in all my years here, I do not recall us ever lifting a deed restriction regarding further subdivision. And my family, I'm originally from Chester, and we had a compound. Everybody lived next to each other. So I applaud that idea. I think it's a wonderful idea. I just don't think we're going to be able to help you in this instance because of the deed restriction.
Okay.
And perhaps maybe what Mr. Crossan is suggesting might be an avenue you could use to get to the same goal. But historically, since I've been here, I don't ever recall voiding a deed restriction.
Okay.
Okay?
Appreciate your time.
because of the 5 acres, I do believe that you have the opportunity to explore some options that will meet your goal.
Another route, okay.
So it's under the historic ordinance. So if you go onto the website, look up our historic commission, et cetera, you can link to the ordinance and you can see the details there. And then that's a request that you would come in for that conditional use.
Okay, appreciate
Just
it.
so you only heard the two of us talk, is everybody pretty much in agreement that that should be the position in the township?
Yeah, my opinion is I wouldn't want to undermine a decision that was made by a prior board on a situation like this. I would have to respect their opinion at that time, so.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for coming out this evening. Okay, traffic signal maintenance program. Amanda, Nate, we're signing up. This has something to do, we share these lights with Chad's Ford or something?
Yeah, so we've,
And wait a minute, let me guess, we're ending up paying more.
well, we have more traffic signals than Chad's Ford, so yes,
Well,
we are
even if we
paying more.
had less traffic, we're ending up paying more, but go ahead.
But the short version is, this. Short version is a contract with our technology partner Rhythm. It's been several years since we've contracted with them. Just based on probably the last 6-9 months of traffic issues and problems we've been having, we felt this was a good time to revisit this, partner with Chad's Ford to split the cost and reevaluate some of the signal timings on the corridor. So Mike Schneider and myself met with Amanda and Lacey, and this is our recommendation to proceed with this for the next year, and then we'll reevaluate before future years after this.
Okay, we need a motion to approve this agreement. Do we have one?
Second? I'm so moved.
Okay, second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Resolution 18 of 2025. Amanda, this is probably the second or third one of these I've done since I've been here, but it's renewing our agreement with the Brandywine Valley SPCA, and they take the stray animals, I think, is that what?
Yes, they do, and I'm grateful that we have a relationship with them and we are able to do this because this has been a long issue. For local municipalities, we are required under state laws to handle dogs running at large, which is sort of where this comes to, and we are responsible to figure out what to do when stray animals, dogs in particular, are caught. This also covers cats. and other animals, ironically. But we are, if you don't have this agreement, our options are working things out with local vets who don't have the means or facility to handle a dog, i.e. possibly a breed that would be in there for a very long time.
And unfortunately, I think we actually probably utilize the service more than most communities because we are considered sort of the country on the edge of some of our neighboring communities that unfortunately bring dogs to dump them in Beaver Valley, in Ivy Mills, et cetera.
As far as entering into this, if it's not broke, why are we fixing it? I would recommend that we
I would urge you
make a
all.
motion to approve this 5-year, do we have a motion to
So
do so?
moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, resolution number 19 of 2025, the Smithbridge Corridor Roundabout and Multi-Purpose Trail Project right-of-way acquisition easement. So this is regarding getting the easements we need to get that circle and the walkway and everything else done along
God
Smithbridge
willing.
Road. This is another one that
This is
has
another one. It's like 10 years
grant
in the
money and there's
making.
a million pieces of paperwork.
Yes, Hugh, if you want to chime in.
Sure.
Legally, we're required to acknowledge every agreement that moves forward.
This resolution is somewhat redundant. We have spoken to this issue on many occasions. There have been prior resolutions. Thankfully, we've been able to reach agreement with most of the parties involved to date, at least in principle. But this is just formalizing this board's intention to obtain the easements, on a friendly basis through an agreement, but if necessary, we'll move through to condemnation. It's as simple as that.
Wait a minute. So I guess we would need a motion and a second for this. Do we have a motion to do so?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'm guessing we've passed enough resolutions on enough pieces of paper to probably pave the trail in paper from the Smithbridge Road to the school district, and maybe even Octorara. Okay,
Prior to adjournment, I'd like to say a few words.
sure, go Birds.
Well, yes, definitely.
What else is?
Go Birds, but other than that, with regard to Allison, she started 20 years ago, about the same time that I got involved on the Township Board of Supervisors at the time. So 20 years of working with you and seeing the great things that you've done for our township. I just want to say congratulations. I personally will miss you a lot, and I know everybody up on this table will miss you a lot. We do have your phone number, so if we need to call you, I know we can call you, but congratulations again, and please enjoy your retirement, although I know it's not retirement. I know you'll be back in some form. And also to Tom and Mary Ann, again, congratulations. Many, many years of service to Concord Township. It's so great to see you back in the room.
Okay.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn? Oh, John, you got something else?
I was just going to say, with regard to Allison, I don't think any of us can really fully appreciate the impact on the number of lives you've had in Concord Township more than I think anyone. Through your programming, your programming has really brought our community together. When you see hundreds of kids and thousands of people at the Easter egg hunt or any of our events, we can all be so grateful to you for that. And one particular story, Scott and Tara are two special members of our community with special needs. And they've been together for a while and they're engaged. And when I asked them how they met, they said that they met at a program that you started here for kids with special needs. And I just think that's really special and wonderful, and thank you.
I want to say a quick word. Tom and Marianne, thank you so much for all the hard work that you have done. I've watched you over the years, and I truly appreciate you both. And Allison, thank you. Allison, you are the ultimate when it comes to hard work and all the dedicated hours, numerous number of hours that you have put in for the township and the residents. I do appreciate you. We will, of course, always miss you, but at the same time, I want to say you are hard to replace.
We had the same comments when Kevin left. No, I'm just kidding. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thanks for coming out this evening. You know, we're okay. Is it per capita or